Villagers confront authorities over dike breach in Beijing and Hebei. Floods. The Chinese are angry. Flood is currently taking the lives of the people to show loyalty to Zhuozhou. The conflict broke out. The Zhuozhou government secretly dug the embankment, and the villagers rebelled against the armed police. Mountains of disaster relief supplies accumulate in Zhuzhou. Officials pose for photos but fail to distribute to victims. China faces another economic dilemma. Foreigners don't want to come. Many villages flooded by heavy rain in Heilongjiang Expressway collapsed and vehicles fell into holes. All will be covered today in China Undercover. Villagers confront authorities over dike breach in Beijing and Hebei floods. It is reported that on August 2nd, in the early hours, villagers from West Dike village of Zhuzhou City, Beijing City, stayed day and night to guard the upstream dike for their own safety. Authorities attempted to secretly breach the dike but were sternly stopped by the villagers. Some angry villagers said, if it weren't for the villagers guarding the dike, our village would already be gone. There was a confrontation between the villagers and the police resorted to violence. On August 3rd, a video showed a scene with many police officers present, some with flashlights illuminating the area. Villagers surrounded a man who appeared to be a leader, and they questioned him, "Is our home a flood discharge area? What are we supposed to do about the flood discharge? Tell us where you blocked it." They expressed their grievances, saying, "We can't even find food to eat now, and we can't even drink water. And if this continues, we won't have anything to eat." They also demanded to see official documents authorizing the digging of the dike and asked why the flood discharge outlet was not opened in another location. The man claimed that these questions should be answered by the township officials. The villagers stated that there are still people, especially the elderly and weak, who have not been relocated. When the leader asked who the village officials were, the villagers unanimously said, "There are no village officials. We are all acting on our own as villagers." They questioned the purpose of the leaders' group coming to their village. The man emphasized that they were there to protect the dike, but the villagers retorted, "If you're here to protect the dike, why didn't you bring any tools? Where are your shovels? How are you protecting our dike?" Some villagers mentioned that there were still over 200 people in the village. Many netizens commented on the situation, stating that this is intentional killing. Some users mentioned that a similar situation occurred during the Henan floods, criticizing the government's lack of accountability. The floods in Beijing and nearby resulted in severe consequences, with many seeking help online, but the government's response has been criticized for lack of notification and inadequate rescue efforts. The exact number of casualties and missing individuals in the affected areas has not been officially disclosed. The Chinese are angry. Flood is currently taking the lives of the people to show loyalty. Heavy rain wreaked havoc in North China. Recently, the Secretary of Hebei Provincial Committee, Ai Yufeng, sparked criticism from many Chinese netizens when he said, "We must resolutely act as the capital's protective barrier," raising doubts that he prioritized protecting the ghost city, Xinjiang, at the expense of the lives of Hebei people, as a display of loyalty to Xi Jinping. On August 1st, Lai Guoying, the deputy commander of the National Flood Control Headquarters and Minister of Water Resources, first mentioned the need to absolutely ensure the safety of key defense objects such as Zhuzhou New Area and Beijing Daxing Airport. Following this, Ai Yufeng's statement further triggered strong backlash from netizens, leading to widespread criticism online. According to reports, Ai Yufeng emphasized during his inspection of flood control and disaster relief work in Beijing and Xi'an on August 1st and 2nd that they should orderly use the flood detention area to reduce the flood control pressure on Beijing and resolutely act as the capital's protective barrier. He also stated that they should effectively respond to the heavy rainfall and inspect the quality of various projects in Zhuozhou New Area to make its quality a true trademark. And Yefeng's remarks immediately sparked a wave of criticism online. Many netizens believed that his statement disregarded the lives of people in Hebei and was a show of loyalty to Xi Jinping. They left comments criticizing him as an appointed official whose only concern is the ruler, willing to sacrifice everything, including human lives, to please the higher-ups. They also expressed disappointment, stating that Hebei officials were not accountable to the people of Hebei, but only to their superiors, and speculated that Ai Yufeng might be preparing for promotion in the capital. As the discontent with the protecting Beijing narrative rapidly spread online, many related posts and comments on Weibo were suspected to be filtered or hidden. The conflict broke out. The Zhuozhou government secretly dug the embankment, and the villagers rebelled against the armed police. Experts say that during the Beijing flood discharge, diversion measures were taken to divert the floodwaters to Zhuozhou in order to protect downstream Heilongjiang. The picture shows civilians rescuing flood victims using kayaks on August 2, 2023. The government not only openly released floodwaters, but also secretly dug the flood defenses in the village, completely disregarding the lives of the villagers. A video shows that on the night of August 1 in Zhuozhou village, Beku River, Zhuozhou government personnel were caught secretly digging the flood defenses by the villagers, and a confrontation ensued with the police. Villagers questioned the government officials, asking why they were digging the village's defenses when there were designated flood discharge areas. They also raised concerns that since there were no official documents authorizing the digging, such actions could be considered a crime. The villagers pointed out that there were elderly and children in the village, and if they had not guarded the defenses, the entire village would have been wiped out. They questioned the need for a large number of police present, saying that the people and the police should not be adversaries, and asked if they were there to help protect the defenses. The video shows that several villagers were eventually forcibly taken away by the police on a bus. A villager who recorded the video said, "The police have suppressed the villagers, and armed police and special police are all in position." As a result of forcibly digging the flood defenses, the floodwaters inundated the entire village. Official media reported that there was a breach in the flood defenses of Zhuozhou village, and the villagers had to be evacuated overnight. However, the villagers complained on social media, "We can accept natural disasters, but our village would have been fine if powerful people hadn't forcibly dug open the flood defenses with an excavator. Is this fair? Why did they dig secretly without allowing people to evacuate first? Everything has been submerged. Cars, shops, houses. It's too tragic. Who will compensate us?" Mountains of disaster relief supplies accumulate in Zhuozhou. Officials pose for photos, but fail to distribute to victims. Emergency situation in Zhuozhou. Many people have been trapped for 4 days, and some have not eaten for 2 days. However, the Zhuozhou government is inactive, and a large amount of donated supplies is hoarded by the government and not given to the disaster victims. Some witnesses saw local officials posing in front of mountains of relief supplies, which is very infuriating. On August 3rd, an angry netizen revealed that donations have piled up like mountains at the Vocational Education Center in Zhuozhou. They have everything needed for eating, living, and covering, but government personnel told the rescue teams that there were no supplies for the victims and even prohibited local public servants from leaking this truth. This netizen expressed frustration, saying, "I have removed the posts accepting donations from the public. Even if you donate, it won't reach the people. Let's stop sending things to the Vocational Education Center." Another netizen who donated supplies disclosed that he delivered his donations to the frontline victims directly. Later, he and another enthusiastic person bought 15,000 yuan worth of supplies for the victims, but the Zhuozhou government officials interfered and refused to accept the supplies. Frustrated, he took the supplies to the Vocational Education Center, but found the place piled up with materials. A group of Communist Party officials posed for photos with new life jackets, and 2 leaders, a man and a woman, posed with bottled water. Angry, he turned around and finally sent the supplies elsewhere. Now the people are hanging by a thread, and the rescue teams are at the forefront while the netizen hesitated to speak, indicating that many friends wanted to transfer money or asked him where to donate, but he refused all of it. Those who understand the situation would know why. On August 4th, information on Weibo showed that most of the rescue teams in Zhuozhou have withdrawn today. Many donated supplies cannot reach the affected areas due to cumbersome procedures. The military will take over the subsequent rescue efforts, and it will take many procedures to deliver the supplies at the Vocational Education Center to the people. According to official reports, there were more than 100 private rescue teams involved in the rescue in Zhuozhou. Starting from the 3rd of August, most of them began to withdraw as the government claimed that the rescue forces were saturated and asked them to leave, and the subsequent rescue efforts would be taken over by the military and firefighting departments. However, online information indicates that the private rescue teams were forced to withdraw under pressure from the government. The local government did nothing, didn't guide the rescue teams, and many disaster-affected people urgently need help. The Beijing and Hebei floods have once again exposed the incompetence and disorderly conduct of officials under the corrupt system of the Chinese Communist Party. China faces another economic dilemma. Foreigners don't want to come Korea. Almost no international tourists are coming to China 6 months after Beijing lifted the zero-COVID policy and reopened its borders. Analysts believe this is another sign of Beijing's decoupling from the West and may have long-term negative effects. The scarcity of foreign tourists is particularly evident in major cities like Beijing and Shanghai, where the total number of foreign visitors in the first half of the year is less than a quarter of the comparable pre-pandemic figures in 2019. Nationwide data shows that in the first quarter, only 52,000 people traveled to mainland China through organized tours, compared to 3.7 million in the first quarter of 2019. About half of the visitors were from Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, rather than more distant countries like the United States or Europe. Xiao Qianhui, a semi-official director of the China Tourism Association, said in a speech in May, the number of tourists from Europe, the Americas, Japan, and South Korea has decreased significantly. The scarcity of tourists may also lead to a decrease in investment in China. According to an analysis by research company Rhodium Group, foreign direct investment into China in the first quarter dropped to $20 billion from $100 billion in the same period last year. A survey by the American Chamber of Commerce in China showed that, for the first time in about 25 years, China is no longer among the top 3 investment priorities for most U.S. companies, and almost half of the companies already in the Chinese market have no new investment plans. As foreign investment and visitor numbers decline, China's economy is stagnating, its real estate market is sluggish, and the youth unemployment rate is at a historic high, raising concerns that China may fall into deflation. In comparison to the first 3 months of the year, China's economy has almost shown no growth in the second quarter. The decrease in the number of arriving flights is one reason for the low number of visitors, as airlines have not fully returned to the service levels before the COVID-19 outbreak. However, China and foreign tourism experts also believe that due to worsening relations between Beijing and the West, foreign tourists are also hesitant to travel to China and are more cautious about visiting the country. The newly revised counter-espionage law of the Chinese Communist Party, which took effect on July 1, expands the interpretation of violations of national security standards and grants the government more power to conduct searches, detain individuals, and impose exit bans, causing great anxiety among foreign nationals. Data from Mondi Holdings, a travel technology company based in Austin, showed that leisure travel from North America to China in the first half of 2023 was about 40 of the same period in 2019. In 2019, Mondi sold about 500,000 flights from North America to China through travel agencies and other intermediaries, accounting for about 1/5 of all air travel from North America to China that year. The decrease in foreign tourists has also led to a decline in income for those in the domestic tourism industry. Snow Yu, a tour guide in Shanghai, used to have a thriving business with foreign visitors. During the pandemic, when China's borders were mostly closed, he found temporary work as an English tutor. Yu has now returned to his original job, leading local tour groups, but they don't need his English skills and the tips are minimal. Therefore, he says his income has decreased by almost half compared to before the COVID-19 outbreak. Alexander Sirikov, a 37-year-old investment advisor, moved back to his home country of Bulgaria from Shanghai last August. He said most of his foreign friends have also left, including 8 of the 10 foreign families living in his compound. People now see China as very distant and a bit alien, he said. Floods and chaos frequently occur in Hebei. Hotel prices rise. High-speed queuing fees. Amid the floods in Zhuozhou, Hebei, various irregularities have arisen. Residents reported that the evacuation hotels in Beijing maliciously raised prices. When residents in Beijing were evacuating overnight, they were blocked at the toll booths on the highway and asked to present invitations to pass. Rescue personnel were unable to proceed without an invitation. On August 3, 9 Party News reported that a resident of Zhuozhou, Heilongjiang Expressway, revealed on the 2nd that due to the floods, He and his family sought refuge in the nearby Gaobian city and checked into a hotel. The price for the first day of a standard room was 120 yuan hiked, but when renewing for the second day, he was told that the price had increased to 150 yuan. Li Heng believed that this was a malicious price hike and was difficult to accept. Only after complaining to the Gaobian Market Supervision and Management Bureau was the extra money refunded. However, Li Heng is not the only one facing such issues. The aforementioned report stated that the Gaobian Market Supervision and Management Bureau has recently received numerous similar complaints. After attracting attention, the Gaobian Market Supervision and Management Bureau summoned all hotels in the city to a meeting and demanded that hotels not raise prices during the disaster period. Before this incident, the experiences of residents in Beijing town also sparked discussions. Late on August 1 to early on August 2, many residents of Beijing town received evacuation notices and left the neighborhood in their cars. However, they were stuck on the highway. Network videos showed severe traffic congestion, extending several kilometers from the city to the highway toll booths. Some people lamented that they had been stuck for over 4 hours and still had not left Beijing. The reason was that residents were asked to present invitations one by one to pass. Netizens criticized. Unbelievable that they are charging tolls even in this situation. They are profiting from the national disaster. Local highway management departments claimed that they did not receive a notice for free passage from the higher-ups. They also stated that Beijing town's main urban area had only one exit, but there were over 200,000 people evacuating. Many villages flooded by heavy rain in Hailungjing Expressway collapsed and vehicles fell into holes. Typhoon Zhuzhou has affected northeast China, causing heavy rain and floods in various areas of Heilongjiang province. Many crops have been damaged due to waterlogging. The highway connecting Harbin and Mudanjiang collapsed, with vehicles falling into the sinkholes caused by the collapse. The impact of the heavy rain resulted in the collapse of the Heilongjiang Expressway, which connects Harbin and Mudanjiang in Heilongjiang province. 2 vehicles passing through the section fell into the collapsed depression. The front end of a white car got stuck in the mud flow. According to the Heilongjiang Provincial Transportation Investment Group, at around 8:50 a.m. on the 3rd, due to heavy rain, a section of the Heilongjiang Expressway collapsed at 253 kilometers in the direction from Mudanjiang to Harbin. Vehicles fell into the river from the collapsed section. The Heilongjiang Provincial Public Security Department's Highway Traffic Management Bureau reported that there were road collapses and severe flooding in multiple sections of the Heilongjiang Expressway. At 1:10 p.m. on the 3rd, the entire Heilongjiang Expressway was closed. In surveillance footage, a white car can be seen falling from the bridge, and the driver was rescued by other drivers and passers-by at the scene. The green protective barrier in the middle of the highway was damaged and deformed, and the river under the bridge was flowing rapidly. According to the Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters of Mudanjiang City, due to the rapid rise of water levels in the Mudanjiang and Hailong rivers within the city is expected to experience a peak flow on the 4th, and the water level will exceed the warning level. Starting from 9 a.m. on the 3rd, the flood control emergency response in Mudanjiang City has been raised from level 4 to level 3. Heavy rain is also expected in some areas of Heilongjiang and Jilin provinces. According to the Central Meteorological Observatory on August 2, the focus of rainfall in the northern regions will shift to the northeast. And that is today's episode. If you found this video informative, please subscribe and ring a bell to get notification. Thank you for watching and see you next time.